What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
This is why he expanded his number of followers instead of completing tasks alone. Taking great risks, he created Peliod to be his mate and fathered children with her to serve as his hands and feet. These offspring, much like Zelanus, were also driven by the pursuit of strength. Zes, in particular, mirrored him closely, sharing Zelanus's cautious and ruthless nature. Recognizing the potential threat posed by his newly born, younger brother, Zes sought to eliminate the danger before it could grow. He even schemed to consume the power of the individual born to be the next generation's queen. Though that plan seemed to have failed, Zelanus wasn't concerned. He allowed them to pursue their own paths. If Zes had ascended to become the next god of creation, it would have been a cause for celebration. Either way, be it Zelanus or Zes, the winner would claim the right to shape the next era. But Zelanus had no intention of surrendering his position, and he would have eventually taken Zes's power once he matured. Zelanus had always kept a precise measure of Zes's strength by nurturing a close bond with him, ensuring his own victory. This time, with the looming threat of Carrera, he had effectively used Zes as a stepping stone. Zelanus was content with the outcome, having successfully absorbed Zes's power. As long as someone as powerful as Zelanus remained cunning and cautious, he was practically unbeatable. This is why Zelanus responded to Milim without hesitation. Milim quickly grasped that Zelanus posed a greater threat than she had anticipated. She realized that if Zelanus wasn't stopped now, he could become an uncontrollable menace, so she resolved to eliminate him with all her might.
I would have liked to keep playing with you, but you're too dangerous. Sorry, but I'm going to get serious now.
With a stern expression, Milim declared her intentions to Zelanus. Then, without a word, she unleashed her power. At this point, Zelanus knew he couldn't afford to hold back any longer. He had no choice but to go all out.
Foolishness! I will entertain you before claiming my place at the top. Show me the power of the Creator's daughter.
No longer concerned about the consequences on the world, Zelanus unleashed his accumulated dark power. The intensity between the two combatants escalated, causing the very air to shudder. With their abilities so closely matched, it was clear that if they continued chipping away at each other, the battle would drag on endlessly. This shared understanding is why Milim opted to unleash her special magic, aiming for a swift and decisive victory. In response, Zelanus also honed his fighting aura. The clash between Milim's overwhelming energy and Zelanus's refined power caused plasma explosions to erupt across the battlefield. The aftermath of these blasts alone was enough to obliterate any unfortunate creature caught in their way. Even a powerful Majin would struggle to survive such an onslaught. The battlefield, engulfed by such destructive force, was no place for any third party. Everyone had evacuated long before, observing from a safe distance outside the barrier. Had they delayed even slightly, they would have found themselves in a living nightmare. And yet, despite the immense power already on display, the real fight was only just beginning.
I'll show you my best. Drago Nova.
Milim's hands began to sparkle with stardust as a force of unimaginable destruction swirled between them. She gathered this power and hurled it at Zelanus. Even with the ability to twist space like Peliod, it was impossible to fully contain the attack. Understanding this, Milim unleashed her tyrannical power with full force. It was a move worthy of her title as the Destroyer, but in this situation, it was the correct choice. In a battle between beings of their caliber, the longer it lasted, the more catastrophic the damage would be. With the barrier being a fusion of both Milim and Zelanus's powers, Milim exploited it to its limits, setting the stage for this showdown. Meanwhile, Zelanus, like Milim, chose to counter with his own lethal technique, aiming to wipe her out completely.
Consume everything. Devastator virus.
Fine particles of darkness emanated from Zelanus's body, moving to block the brilliance of the Drago Nova as if they had a mind of their own. These dark cells were part of Zelanus himself. Zelanus, who could control matter absorbed from other worlds, could break his body down into microscopic particles that could infiltrate and devour his enemies from within. These tiny, self-directed cells could even penetrate a barrier, making resistance nearly impossible for most. The radiant light from Milim's attack clashed with the dark particles controlled by Zelanus. While the light pushed back the darkness swallowed the light. This clash, though brief, felt like an eternity due to its intensity. It was a tense moment for both combatants. Milim had intended to dominate completely, while Zelanus aimed to consume Milim with his cells. Finally, the outcome of this intense exchange became clear. As the light and darkness dissipated, Milim remained standing. The dark particles had clung to her, but they were burned away by her sheer power. Though visibly tired, Milim was unharmed. And as for Zelanus?
So, this is what pain feels like. I didn't think there was anything I couldn't consume.
Remarkably, he had survived. Milim's Drago Nova was composed primarily of a special substance called stardust, a material with destructive power far beyond that of spiritrons, and only Milim could control it. Without the ability to analyze its properties, it was uncontrollable for any other being. Naturally, Zelanus had failed in his attempt to consume it. However, while he couldn't consume it, Zelanus did manage to neutralize it. He sustained some damage, but it was nothing beyond his ability to regenerate. Milim was mentally exhausted, and Zelanus had suffered some physical damage. That was the outcome of this exchange. Zelanus quickly recovered and locked his compound eyes on Milim, thinking to himself,
Can I really win this?
Milim, the creator's daughter, was undeniably powerful. It was said she inherited most of the creator's power, and Zelanus now believed there was even more she hadn't revealed. He was certain of it. He was convinced because he had witnessed the Barren Lands, the site of her legendary battle with the demon lord Gi. As expected of the cautious Zelanus, he was well informed. The area, also known as the Desert of Death, was still saturated with dense magicules, even after more than 2,000 years. Milim's Drago Nova was powerful, but it didn't leave such contamination. This led Zelanus to believe she had even greater power hidden within her. The uncertainty of what that power might be made him uneasy. Zelanus wasn't interested in simply winning, he needed to win with certainty. His belief in absolute victory was unwavering, and continuing this fight seemed increasingly dangerous. There was no room for what-ifs, and with Milim still an unknown variable. Zelanus began contemplating a retreat. But shortly after, something happened that forced him to make a decision. Carrera heard a voice that shouldn't have been there, making her realize this was no longer a time to just watch. She found it unbelievable, but she wasn't naive enough to dismiss the reality of the situation.
Wait, did I actually not die?
You were brought back from the other side because I didn't do my job right.
The one with the wry smile was Lieutenant Kondou, who Carrera thought she had killed. Unknown to her, Masayuki's ultimate skill, King of Heroes, had activated just before this. This Kondou was a physical presence, though not alive, like a dead champion, as real as a digital life form. Normally impossible, but thanks to Masayuki's power, he had arrived to help Carrera in this critical moment.
Well, then. I trust you're not suggesting this is where the demon who killed me stops.
That's right, of course not. I was just about to finish him, but then you stepped in.
Kondou didn't question how. Instead, he simply grinned confidently, nodding as if to say, "Good, let's proceed."
I'll lend you my power, so let's work together.
The offer of cooperation was straightforward, and Carrera accepted it just as naturally.
Why not? I'm in a tight spot, so I'll take it.
She wasn't concerned about her demon pride, in fact, she seemed pleased. Thus, an unexpectedly powerful duo was formed. Even in that tense moment, the two casually planned their strategy.
So, what's the plan? Are you going to take him down?
Carrera calmly made an impossible request as soon as they teamed up. Kondou, a bit surprised, sighed before starting his explanation.
As good as I am, even I can't beat him directly.
Kondou was pragmatic. Despite just arriving in this world, he assessed the situation with a clear head and made a logical decision.
But right now, we're lucky, his focus is elsewhere.
Huh?
If direct attacks won't work, we'll have to rely on strategy.
Kondou said this as he placed his hand on Carrera's. More precisely, he intended to channel his power into the golden gun she held.
Suddenly holding hands, huh? Isn't that a bit forward?
Cut it out. Now's not the time for that.
Carrera was serious, but Kondou's cold response left her slightly irritated. However, he was right, it was crucial to defeat the enemy and protect her comrades. Carrera focused on what Kondou was planning and then realized it.
I see, it's your judgment.
Exactly. I'm pouring all my power into this shot. You just need to guide it.
No need to ask if she knew how to use it, Kondou trusted her completely. Sensing this, Carrera's mood improved.
Yeah. Leave it to me.
And with that, she agreed, a broad smile on her face. Peliod held dominance over the battlefield. Although there were some unexpected events, things mostly went as she intended. What bothered her was the lower than expected number of deaths. Moreover, the enemy forces suffered no fatalities. Even those who sustained severe injuries were quickly treated with magic and recovery potions, ensuring none would perish. She had gone to great lengths to create a special barrier to harvest the power of the fallen, but the results were underwhelming.
Well, I did manage to consume my offspring and absorb their strengths. I guess that counts as a win.
Indeed, Peliod's current strength was far greater than at the start of the battle. It wasn't just an increase in energy but also a merger of her children's skills. With her newfound close combat prowess combined with her original spatial domination, she should have easily overpowered the weaker opponents clinging to her. Yet, the so-called small fry, Obara, Midley, Carrion, Ray, Geld, and Gopta and Ranga coordinated so well that they minimized their losses. Peliod wasn't seriously harmed, but bringing them down was proving more challenging than expected. This vexed Peliod.
This is ridiculous. Even after gaining all this power, I still can't take these guys down.
She knew that with time, victory would be hers. Despite this awareness, Peliod couldn't contain her growing irritation. The one who especially irked her was the Majin named Geld. He wasn't as powerful as she was now, yet he was annoyingly resilient. He should have been dead by now. Though she landed blow after blow, each aimed to be fatal, he kept rising. And those eyes, how infuriating. Despite clearly sensing the vast gap in their power, he continued to stare at Peliod with unwavering resolve. It was as though he was convinced of his eventual triumph.
Enough with the jokes already. That's the kind of expression I should be giving to you all.
Her frustrations with Obara were understandable. Peliod had dispatched Insectar scouts to study the cryptids, so she was well aware of Obara's forces. And having witnessed her might in this clash, she recognized the threat Obara posed. That's why she forced Obara to fire those massive shots, aiming to deplete her strength. She had never underestimated her. However, she hadn't anticipated Geld being such a persistent problem.
A big thanks to the AnimeKouhai patrons who made this video possible. Jared Bressler, Havox, Speed Saber, Curtis Loban, Judah Herrera, Just a Guy, Miss L.W. Hernandez, Jason Martin, Zach Rosen, Jerry Sladek, Ray Perez, Jay, Donald Williams, Day of Light, John M, Godman Gaming, Markithian Tidwell, Adrian, Kumo, T. Bush, JV, Thomas, Christ, Joshua Cousins, Jose Hernandez, Khalid, Christian Deshazer, Divine C. Harris, Montyboy 98, Ruben, Yuki Iki, Gray, Isaac, Koala King 93, Quilly Buckner, Alver, Darius King, Normal Defate, Vicente Baharias, Joshua Andrade, L, Gary Miles, Dragon Spawn 666, J. Rule, Nate, Leiron Sangkap, Lucas Guet, Jason Martin, Christopher Mash, Charles Bailey, Sky T, Diego Ginoza, Andre Hamilton, Martin Ramos, Guy Ensley, Simon Rode, Emperor WSA, Miko Espinosa, Gobi Lin, Pratik Bandari, Faiz Mansour, Jackson Early, Smexy, Carl Stephen Bernadel, Gareth Hashimoto, Steven Madison, Vasto Lord, Marl Barsha, Ralph Ignacio, Efrain Hernandez, William Locke, Kamal Luke, Jahid Hassan Lipu, Spencer Candila, Ian Sikibiol, Thanacorn Lee Sawat, KACP9R, The Harv, Drayden Yamauchi, Alex Buthanu, Michael Brinkley, Nathan Alexander, Mario Kanoy, Karam Faraj. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.